All right. So you mentioned 3D printing, but I wanted to ask before we jump there, let's talk about tokenization, because
Sure.
that's another one in the presentation that you had that was eye opening to me. It's something I never even thought about. So you talk about tokenization having just dramatic effects over the next 5-10 years in real estate.
That's
The
right.
floor is yours. Go to town here.
Sure. So it's 1,000 times less efficient to buy a single family rental property and get it ready for a renter than it is to buy Apple stock. It takes roughly 5 minutes to pick up your phone, tap, 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 open the app, go in and buy Apple stock. 5 minutes. And I would say it takes at least 5,000 minutes to buy a rental property and get it ready for a tenant. Today, most properties, you have to, if you want to make profit, you have to buy properties that are, that are not in the right shape. So you have to do your research. You have to figure out the cities. You have to call people like Mark Ainley. You have to figure out where you're going. You fly to that city the first time, the second time, make a bid, lose a bid, make another bid, lose a bid, blah, 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 blah. Eventually get a property, then start your rehab process, then take months to do this. I think I'm being extraordinarily generous when I say that it takes 5,000 minutes to buy and rent a property as compared to 5 minutes to buy Apple stock. So the biggest advantage and the biggest disadvantage of real estate are the same. Real estate is very work intensive and patience intensive. People who are patient do better in real estate, where people that just want to buy a tap, tap, tap stock don't do well in real estate. It's also the biggest benefit of real estate because there's so many people unwilling to do that work that real estate has always got a premium. That's why over the last 10 or 15 years, over any 10, 15-year time frame, real estate beats stocks in terms of overall returns, correct? That's about to change for better and for worse. So tokenization is the process of turning real estate into stock. I come on a webinar, I talk with Mark, and Mark's like, what's your favorite cities in the US to invest in? And I say, well, it's Idaho Falls and Dalton, Georgia, and Destin, Florida. And I give him a bunch of these cities that nobody's ever heard of, and I explain my reasons. And so now someone's listening to that podcast. It is my assumption that within 5 years, people listening to Mark's podcast are going to come in, tap on their phone, find a different app. It wouldn't be called Robinhood or E-Trade. It'll be called something different, right? And in that app, he'll type in the name of Idaho Falls. He's never heard of Idaho Falls, but 𝗫𝗏𝗏 thinks it's a great place to invest in. Therefore, I'm going to go out there. And he's going to go to Idaho Falls. And then on his screen, he's going to see a bunch of properties, single family, residential, retail, hotels, all kinds of properties will be listed. And he will be able to buy not a certain stock price, but a token. And that token will cost $50 or $100. Those are the most common two prices of tokens. And you'll be able to say, yeah, I like single family real estate in Idaho Falls. So I see this property, I see the cash flow. I'm going to go in, I'm going to invest $5,000 into this property. And now the infrastructure to make sure that that $5,000 actually goes to the owner of that property and rents from that owner are distributed back out to this person without that person ever having to lift a finger. That infrastructure, that process, the technology, the backends, the legalities is called tokenization. And it will change the way we do real estate. It's bad news in the long run for people like Tom Shallcross and Mark Ainley and 𝗫𝗏𝗏, because we are the in-between people. We make money from the in-between process of real estate management, right? But in the short run, over the next 5 years, it also means that cap rates for all kinds of real estate will drop. Anytime an asset becomes commoditized, whether that's stock, whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's NFTs, the moment it becomes very easy to buy a particular asset class, its prices skyrocket. I'm expecting that as we tokenize all of real estate in the US, 5 years from now, a parking lot in Manhattan that makes money will be visible on a tokenization app, and you can invest there if you think that traffic is going to get worse in Manhattan. That's where we are going to end up in 5 years. It's a process, and most people are like, yes, but this is not really happening. He's talking about, I'm not talking about crowdfunding. Sure, crowdfunding has existed for the last 6 years, but less than 1% of the United States invests through crowdfunding portals because of lots of different reasons, accredited investor, all that, blah, 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 right? This is the concept of basically having an app where hundreds of thousands of different types of properties are in there. Airbnb properties are in there. You just choose to invest in whatever catches your fancy and your paradigm. That's where we end up in 5 to 10 years. In 5 years, we'll be there. In 10 years, that is the primary way in which people will buy real estate. So during that time, I do expect it to make a significant upward dent in the prices of real estate. But in the long run, it puts Mark Ainley and Neil Bauer out of business unless we evolve during those 10 years to be in charge of those kinds of apps. And anybody that thinks that won't happen, just Walmart, Amazon, how many thousands or tens of thousands of in-between brokers did Amazon and Walmart put out of business? Is there any reason it wouldn't happen with real estate? I can't think of one.